Welcome into the Winklerverse. I am Bart Winkler, longtime frenemy of the Winklerverse, Andrew Wagner, who you can find at American Family Field covering your Milwaukee Brewers. What's up, Wags?
The FCC can't really police podcasts, right? That's why we're able to do this.
What do you want to say first? Tits?
No,
Shit? What do you
I
want
mean
to
you're
say?
the one that talked about crapping your pants the last time that we got together. That was epic. That was an epic road trip.
So when we went to St. Louis in 2018,
Yeah. No, 19. I think was it 18? 18 or
18,
19? Yeah.
18. I think I drove. I should talk into my microphone. I drove there by myself, right? And
Yeah.
then you. There we go. Much better. You hitched a ride back.
I think that's what it was. I rolled down with Kevin Holden, I think, from
Mm.
58, and then you were driving back alone. I'm like, yeah, I'll ride with you, and we recorded a podcast, and I tell you what, that was better than my last ride home from St. Louis. That's for sure. That was an epic trip. We stopped at Bob Evans. I was gonna wear the hat. I just didn't know where it was.
Yeah, I can't find mine either. We bought hats that day. But why you talk? Why I brought it up and why you brought it up is because that was a long day.
That
Uh,
was.
I got there. I immediately went to the hotel, threw my stuff down, went to Busch Stadium, got there for the game, had all the post game stuff. A couple of us went out for a couple of brews, and then I came home and I realized that the underwear that I had been wearing the entire day was not salvageable enough to bring home.
that is. That's the most beautiful description I've ever heard of soiling one's trousers.
Well,
My
I did like
friends.
you know how like a kid will make a BM in his diaper. I didn't shit my pants.
You checked your swing on a fart.
But I was not ever going to wear those boxer briefs again.
Winked at the devil.
Yeah, so there is a distinction, and I was just over the line of you must burn these or it's the hotel's problem now.
Yep. My good friend Travis Curry, fiddler for the Amazing Vandaliers, he's got a podcast with his bandmates, and this would fit right in because I'd swear, like, at least every episode, 30% of it is dedicated to breaching one's trousers. So, hat tip to you, Travis.
Well, yeah, hat tip, and I'm not in. I don't. Yeah, I try not to swim into that kind of humor, but it is a thing that happened to me, so I must share. If anything happens to me, I must share it. That's my curse.
That was a good podcast. I didn't really realize the direction it was going to go, but if it's still out there in the Winklerverse, that's a longtime fans will remember it and should go back and revisit it because that was one of the best episodes of broadcasting ever done.
Well, you know what I'll do? I'll throw it on to this on the audio version if I can find it. I'll slap it onto this. It was a podcast, so it was before I became a basement boy. But it was when I was doing podcast on the side at 12:50, and we taped our car ride home or some of it, and then we hung like the recorder was just dangling in the middle.
That was great.
So yeah,
Great.
that'll get the money's worth out of this
Are
episode.
you? Are they still calling you Basement Boy?
Um,
Because
I
I'm
don't
doing
know.
this from my mom's house. So to all you who talk crap about Bart doing it from his basement, Lisa in his mom's basement. I'm in what used to be my mom's house. So I feel no shame. You know who you are.
I I try to not. I did, I've offered to go on other shows, but nobody seems to want me.
Yeah.
I was
Funny how
stuck
that
in that
works.
position where I could get hired anywhere but Milwaukee,
Yeah.
the place I live. That's
Yeah. I know how that goes.
that's
That's why I'm doing this podcast from my late mother's house. So,
it's it's quite the predicament. All right, I do want to talk some Brewers. We're coming up to the All-Star break. So it's the series against the Nationals and then the All-Star break, but I think we've got a pretty good idea, or do we, of what this team is. I was talking to some people after the Pirates series ended, And one guy, always in the comments, one guy says, "Oh, it's the same team that they've always had." And I don't know, but then hold on. So what he's saying is it will be like the same thing. Like they'll have a fun summer, NL Central, make the playoffs, maybe get bounced. I just think that for me, there's more like that because a lot of years that did seem inevitable.
Yeah.
And while that probably okay, this Brewers team against the Dodgers or the Philly, whatever, that it seems like a tall mountain to climb. And this has to be Pat Murphy influence, but there seems to be a different level of hope or just the understanding that maybe they can do it. I don't know. I sense a different vibe from this team, and I know you have to being there all the time.
It's a complete anyone that says this is the same old, and I've seen it too, because they went 3-4 on the road trip, and suddenly, oh my God, it's the end of the world. Same old Brewers, crap in their pants. Hey, another crap in the pants before the break, and they're gonna fall apart in the second half like they always do. And I'm like, what the hell have you been watching? This is a completely different team than we've seen. And this team, if I had to find a Brewers team from the past that closestly compared, that's not even a word, that is the closest comparison to this team, I'd go back to 92 when Phil Garner came in and they were running the lights out. They were playing old school National League baseball in the American League. Listash was swiping bases left and right. I think they beat the Blue Jays 22-2 at one point that year. That's
92 is my favorite ever team. 92.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was quite the squad.
They went 92 and 70.
Missed the playoffs by 2 games, I think.
Yeah, and that's when the playoffs. That's when the playoffs were good. Where only 2 teams made the playoffs.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding.
But that's the closest comparison that I can find to this team, and that's one reason why I say the vibe is different. The other reason is, Murphy has instilled this belief in the guys. They don't realize that they're supposed to suck, I think is what it comes down to. Nobody expected anything of these guys going into the year, and probably rightfully so. There was good talent there, but you certainly weren't expecting what you're seeing. And the philosophy, has been win tonight. And it's, on the placards, the name placards above every locker, win tonight. That's basically the slogan. Don't worry about what's going to happen in October. Don't worry about what the expectations are. Just go out there and win the game tonight. And they have so many different ways that they can do it, that it just keeps working. Some nights they're going to go out there and they're going to win with pitching. That's not the dominant pitching that you came to expect the last couple of years, but they're able to cobble together 27 outs effectively and get just enough offense. Other nights, they are going to run teams into oblivion and small ball you to death, by paper cut. Other nights, they're going to come out and bludgeon you. And some nights, they're going to do all of the above. And then you're going to have nights like the other night where they're going to get smoked 12-2. It's just going to happen. But that's fine, because Murph's philosophy is, all right, go out there and win the next night. Don't worry about how many and what you need to just win tonight. And when you've got a bunch of guys that have nothing to lose and everything to prove, and let's face it, there's no pressure on them because no one expected anything of them. You can just go out there and play ball, and it's worked.
So as they head into the All-Star break, they're not going to be any worse than 11 games over 500 and first place in the National League Central. It's a really good spot to be. They'll then, hit the second half running and see if the Cardinals are going to do what they've done in the past. Pirates, Reds, Cubs, I guess they're all within striking distance at this point in the season, but for where the Brewers are, it's a really good spot.
Yeah.
I think the biggest, to me, the biggest difference is the manager. Is this team, where are spots on this team that you feel are different because Pat Murphy's there and not Craig Counsell? I guess if Craig Counsell was the manager, everything I said about them heading into the second half, do you still feel that would be the case? They'd be first place? They'd be 10 games over?
It's hard to say. Maybe, maybe not. I think Murph is the right guy for such a young, unproven squad. I think Craig is probably better with a
Like what
more
they
veteran
what they
squad.
maybe were trying to do with Ken Maka, only this is working a little
Yeah,
better.
yeah, probably. That's. I mean, but those guys had a little bit more under their belt. I mean,
Yeah.
they had some run already. They were in there. A couple of those guys were in there a couple of years. I mean, listen, Council and Murphy are two completely different people. How that translates into victories, I don't know. I'm not that smart. But I do think that with this group they had put together, Pat Murphy was the perfect guy for the job. And I think the coaching staff, even more so than Murph. I mean, Murph sets a tone. He's the guy there at the end of the day, taking the questions. But give some credit to Ricky Weeks. Give some credit to Chris Hook. Give some credit to Ozzie and Connor, the hitting coaches, Hendo out in the bullpen. Like, they've got a lot of good coaches on that staff. And I think what you're seeing is just, everything is working and clicking. Every single person on that roster and staff is contributing, and it's paying off in a hell of a good run so far. I mean, if you would have said going into spring training, knowing that you didn't have Corbin, knowing that you didn't have Woodruff for the whole year, okay, you thought you still might have a good team, was a lot of young guys. And then with all the dudes that went down, when Devin goes down in spring training and you're losing this guy and this guy and this guy, there's no way anyone expects this team to be, 10 over 500 and comfortably leading the NL Central at the break. I mean, I think you'd have to be lying if you said you did.
I got to get there. You're bullying me back into it. I got to go cover a game because I didn't really realize how long I was there. Like, I started covering games in 15 and I was there through 22.
And what a thrill it was every time I got to see you at the ballpark.
So when I started, Ron Renicky was the manager.
My guy.
But he got fired in like 4 weeks since I was there. Like,
yeah, you cursed him.
And I felt like okay. I didn't see I'm all about me. I want to be friends with everybody in sports. So Council gets in there. I'm like, this guy's cool. And then, like, I don't know that he was. I felt like, and tell me how it is now, and I'll have to go find out for myself.
It is a night and day difference. I mean,
because I felt like when I would go in there would, like, Council has this. You know how, like, some people you can feel are in the room?
Yeah.
And some people that's a good feeling?
Yep.
Council's not.
I mean, I'll come right out and say this. Like, I have no problem saying this publicly. Big reason why I took last year off and became a full-time remodeler wasn't just that the journalism industry sucks and I keep getting passed over for gigs, but, like, I was sick of getting just berated and bullied by Council every day. Like, I'm not getting paid enough to deal with this guy. I don't know what it is that I did to him to chap his ass the way that I did. But someone asked me early in the season, because some of the other beat guys were telling me, dude, come back. It's way different. It's way different. I'm like, with my mental health, I don't need this stress. So, like, trust us, it's different. And after the first game, I got asked, like, so was it different? I'm like, this is the first time since 2015 that I've walked out of a manager's pregame gaggle and didn't have to call my therapist. Like, it was mind blowing. I mean, Murph openly says, this is my favorite part of the day. I mean, he's sitting there and he's bullshitting with you for 20 minutes, just coming up with random stuff. Like, if someone new shows up pregame or postgame, we can't start until that new person introduces himself, says where he or she is from, what he or she does for a living, a little bit of background. And, like, he's not asking to be funny. He's asking because he actually gives a damn, which is a novel concept. A manager, a skipper that doesn't openly detest the people covering him every day. I mean, he gives actual answers. Go back to that whole Blake Perkins bunt a couple of weeks ago. I mean, he came out there and said, it was a dumb mistake. He shouldn't have done that, this, that, or the other thing. but I'm not going to go out there and light his ass up over it because he already knows he did something wrong. I mean, he's
Yeah.
flat out honest about it. When he makes a pinch hitting decision or a pitching change that backfires or doesn't work out, and one of us asks, well, did you think about going with so and so? And he'll sit here and walk you through his thought process. Well, here's what I was thinking. It didn't work. I made a mistake. That one kept me up at night. I mean, it's amazing asking a question and getting an actual answer and not just gruff or double talk or, insulted for asking the actual question.
Well, baseball games are, sometimes you win. We made a decision. We made a decision, and that was the decision.
Yep. It is pleasant covering baseball again, and as pleasant as it is watching this team, it is that pleasant, and that's coming from me, a man who, let's face it, I've been a bit gruff in my life. I won't lie. There's been some times where I've been a little chippy. But
if I was walking down the street and saw you walking the same way, I'd cross the street.
Absolutely, as well you should.
Mm-hmm. I remember Pat Murphy took over for Andy Green.
Yeah.
With the Padres, and I was there that day because it was a big deal. Murphy Council, and like you said, we went to the. Everyone's like, "Oh, you got to talk to Pat Murphy," and so there's the San Diego media, and then all these Milwaukee media, and not like he's going to remember, and not like but he did that thing. He goes, who are you? Who are you? Who are you? Where are you from? Where are you from? And the biggest thing that I would say to people that want to know what it's like to cover teams or to be involved in the reporter athlete situation is, at least how I felt. I've always felt like 2'9". I feel like I'm at a meat market. Like,
and you're what? You're 4'6" in real life?
4'6.5" in loafers.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm 5'10". I'm the perfect American male height.
Nicole's taller than you, right?
No.
Okay.
I got an inch. A couple inches.
Oh, boy.
I'm 5'10.5", a nice American man size.
Got it.
But you go in there and it's like, and that's like, you were someone that helped like make me feel like I was at least a human.
Oh God, really?
Yeah.
Jesus, I must have been drunk.
You're like the only person that talked to any new person. You're the Pat Murphy of the Brewers media.
I'll take that.
Yeah. So it was just like, it just felt like I was, and a lot of times, a lot of, sports, whatever, but to feel like it's a weird relationship, press and player and all that. And, sometimes the players want more from the press, like help me with this. Sometimes the press just wants to be their friend. And I just feel like with Council again, the vibe in that clubhouse, I would go into the visiting clubhouse too a bunch. You go into the visiting clubhouse, music's playing. These guys are loose. They know they're going to play a baseball game. Some of those Brewer clubhouses from 15 to 22, and it'd be different based on the year. But one time, Jason Rogers, remember him? He played first and third.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I go up to him. I go, so Aramis Ramirez, he's at third and you're trying to learn third. Are you like, is he giving you? He just goes, no, as if they never even talked in their life. So there were some teams in there that the vibe was bad. Obviously when they win, it was a little better, but I wonder how much of it is a bad vibe because of the record or a bad vibe because I think you do take on, like, when you have a leader, if your leader's peppy and go giddy, you start to feel off that. But if your leader's always like, I don't know. I felt like I was walking on eggshells, and I felt like some of the players maybe did too.
Yeah, a lot of that comes from the people that are in the room. I don't know. It's a great vibe in there this year. And listen, I don't like the whole loitering in the clubhouse thing. I mean, I'm going to be in there today when it opens up. I've got guys that I want to talk to, but I will admit, there's a lot of standing around that comes with it. And some players get bothered by that. And I understand that. I understand. I respect the fact that that's, a lack of a better term, a safe space.
It should be.
Yeah, it should. And there are a lot of people that just hang out there for the sake of hanging out, and that really pisses me off. Um, but at the same time, you know, guys know if we're coming to talk to them on a certain day, and for the most part, when we need those guys, they're there. They make themselves available. Um, and that's to me a sign of a good clubhouse. And not just because of the whole media aspect. It just shows there's accountability and responsibility and maturity to it. Like the other day, and this is no fault of his own, Tobias Myers goes out there and pitches an absolute gem. I mean, just great game. Uh, and really, he was the only guy we needed to talk to. And like, we're waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. And kid is young. Like, he wasn't trying to dodge us or ditch us or make us wait. He was getting treatment. He was doing his post game stuff, doing his recovery stuff. So it's taken a while. And some of the vets were kind of like getting a little annoyed, not with us, but they were looking for him. They're like, it's Rob Zastrinsky, kept going to look for him. And again, it wasn't like they were mad at us for being in there. They understood that we're just there doing our job. And it wasn't like Tobias was trying to duck us or screw us over. But, some of those vets have told these young guys, hey, we know you got your stuff that you like to do after the game, but the faster you go and talk to these guys, the faster they all get out of here, and the faster that we can have our room and have our post game, and that really stood out to me, because especially on a team with so many young guys, that there is enough of a relationship between the experienced vets and those young guys, where the young guys, will actually listen and not just say, oh, they're full of shit, and where the old guys aren't saying, oh, these young kids think they knew it all, the hell with them. Like, it's a really good vibe. And I hate using that term. I just sound like a pain in the ass, pretentious, lakefront condo girl vibe, but it's a great vibe in there. Like, you can tell just by the way they interact with us and around us is the way they interact with each other. And you can see that then come out on the field. I mean, it's a great environment. And to me, it's no surprise that environment combined with the talent that's on that team is why they're winning.
I agree with you on vibe, but I think
I hate sounding so positive. I think
vibes come to the middle. I think you can say vibe. I think vibe's been mainstreamed, because I was with you. Now, what I don't like is, and not that I'm the biggest, I don't know that I have a rosary in this house, I'll say, but when something happens and you say sending thoughts and prayers, I'd rather have that than sending positive vibes, sending good vibes. When people say that to me, pisses me off. Okay, we took a pause. That was longer than 30, but we are back. There were some technical difficulties, which I've been far too familiar with on my end of this. So no problem there. The thing that I think happened was that he just disappeared again. Wagner got positive. That was it. He knew it too. He got positive. He started getting worried about it. He recognized that he got positive. That's not the balance of life. Andrew Wagner is not supposed to say positive things. And so the whatever vibes you believe in have struck Wagner, have struck his technology down. Unbelievable stuff. This is a lesson that if you're a bad person, and that Wagner's not bad, but if you're a negative person, just be negative. If you're a positive person, be positive. We're all on the same life scale balance. We can't be changing. We got to be who we are. We got to be what the zodiac sign says, which the older I get, the more I believe there's something to astrology. I don't want to go further into that. Our thanks to Andrew Wagner for talking some Brewers, both on the field and behind the scenes.